Yo, welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, we are going to be checking out all of the banner units that have come out alongside update 7.0. This is the Attack on Titan update in anime Vanguards. I usually do not do this, but I've decided to do it because these units are pretty interesting. We are going to be checking out the banner units, of course. There are 4 of them. We have the Ackers, we have Riner, we have Zeke, and we also have Armin. So the first unit that we will be looking at is the Ackers. This is a very special one and probably one of my favorite ones so far that I've seen. These will all be done without Monarch, mainly because I'm just not really going to bother rolling on any of these people. There is a main reason why, a good reason why. Monarch is actually not really too good this update with any of these units. A lot of them do revolve around having more placements, which I think is pretty cool, pretty nice as well. Plus the other reason why I am not rolling on any of these units is mainly because I'm still rolling for Kaguya, trying to get Monarch on her, so that is exactly why I'm doing that. Now, I did state a while ago that I was going to do a Kaguya video. It is in the works still. I should get it done fairly soon. I'm hoping maybe not today, maybe tomorrow I'll have it done, depending on how much I want to grind up this update so far. So yeah, let's get straight into the first unit. So looking at Ackerman himself, we have Kenny first. It is a pretty nice model. I actually really like this model. It looks amazing. And then we have his first attack being a thick line, pretty small AoE, but it is pretty decent. We'll kind of ignore the damage because it doesn't really matter too much. The damages around units are all pretty good. Like what I think or that are more useful are the passives. So yeah, let's get straight into the first passive. We have a Tricky Demon. On hit, he slows for 30% and applies a bleed for 10 seconds. This bleed damage is 10% damage, which is not good at all, but it is good in the sense that it lasts for 10 seconds. This means that he is a really good regen stopper, and slowing for I believe 10 seconds as well, really good. On placement, he also gains 80% damage and he loses 30% damage for each additional placement that this unit has. So he has a 1000 placement. He can be placed 3 times, but there is a very special thing with this unit. This unit cannot be sold once he is placed down, and each placement of this unit is a unique Ackerman. Every upgrade on the previous placements of this unit gives the next placement a 5% damage buff per upgrade. So how you would really want to use this unit is you'd first place your first unit down and you'd want to max upgrade them. Every single one of these units costs the exact same to upgrade. So to get to the first attack, it costs 18,000, and then to get to the last attack, it costs 72,000. So going to his first attack, it is a Trick Shot. It is probably my favorite move out of all of these units. I think it just looks super clean. He kind of like throws a smoke bomb down and shoots across. I really like it. Very smooth animation. They cooked hard with these ones. Going to his final attack, it is Explosive Shot, where he'll jump up in the air, throw down like a grenade or something and shoot it. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is pretty much it. He has 59,000 damage with no trait. Z plus, that's pretty good. 62,000 SPA, 9,500 DPS. Now moving on to the next unit with the Ackerman. So if I were to place down the second unit, this one would be Mikasa. As you can see, it is a separate unit, and alongside that, she has a set first passive. The second passive stays the same, but the first passive does change. So this one, she has Fated Lover. Aurin is on the field. This unit follow-up attacks the same target that he does regardless of range. So that is pretty nice. You can have basically Aurin at the front of the map, and you can have Mikasa at the end of the map. And no matter what, if Aurin is attacking an enemy, that means Mikasa will also attack that enemy. So it's pretty nice. Second part of her passive, for every enemy in range, she decreases SPA by 20% or by 1% up to 20%. Pretty nice. So looking at her attacks, her first one, she is just slashing in. That is a small AoE. Then she goes to Flurry Strikes. She is jumping up and doing a spinning attack. This is a thick line. Pretty nice. Show that once more again. And then going to her final attack, it is Javelin Barrage. She is jumping up and shooting out her javelins. Pretty cool. Very large AoE for this one as well. She's at 46,000 damage and her SPA does fluctuate, but once you do have everybody upgraded and she does have her max SPA, she does go up to around 9,000 DPS, which is pretty good. Now the last one that we have is Levi. I'll place him down the back here because he is very unique in himself too. This unit can attack anywhere on the map regardless of range, and when he is attacking a boss, he gains 40% damage. So he has 2.2 times damage when he is hitting a boss, but he has 1.8 when he isn't hitting a boss. Pretty nice. So his first attack, he is just dashing in and slashing. Pretty easy. Small AoE. Going to his second attack, it is Giant Slayer. It is a slightly medium attack. He does weaves and strikes them. Pretty cool. Very nice looking attack. And then lastly, we have Flurry Drop. He goes up to 59,000 damage every 6.2 seconds. This is 9,500 DPS. Pretty nice. It is a very nice looking attack as well. Now the difference between all of these units as well is Mikasa and Kenny are blast type units, and then we have Levi, who is a unbound type type unit. Now, this is pretty much this first unit, pretty strong. He is at 9.5 thousand DPS. Mikasa is at 7.6 thousand DPS, and I know when you do get her SPA up to the max, it goes roughly to around 9,000 as well. So let me just skip a bunch of waves to try to see if I can lower her SPA. Yeah, 9.2 thousand DPS, as you can see right there. And then we have Kenny, who is at 6.3 thousand DPS. He has the lowest, but remember, he is providing support with the slow and also basically regen cutting with his bleed. So he is good in that sense. All right, now we are moving on to the next unit. The next unit that we're going to be looking at is Armin. He is a one placement unit for 1,000 yen. Now, do not fool yourself. He is a one placement, but he is not wanting to have Monarch at all. He is a pure support unit. He does have some sort of damaging effect, but this is not based on his own stats. So you do not care about any stats. I have these stats on temporarily because I'm going to transfer them off onto a different unit when I get a newer unit. So yeah, looking at his passives, he has on placement and every upgrade this unit has. He designates a placement location near the track around this unit. Any unit placed in this location has their upgrade cost reduced by 10% and damage buff by 20%. Once a unit is placed in that location, the location is then removed. So this is what these glowing lights are. He can have up to 4 of them on the map. This costs 4,000 total from placement to get to upgrade 3. And then his final upgrade is 76,000, meaning that he'll cost a total of 80,000 to fully max out. And then this is where his second passive comes into play. When active is activated, the unit whose damage the Colossal Titan takes becomes status effect and debuff immune during the duration of the active. Pretty nice. Going on to his active, he has Nuclear Giant. He transforms player into the Nuclear Giant, taking on the highest damage stat in range and doing that damage map wide. Every step deals 60% of that damage as well. So I have a Gogeta in my team. I'm just going to place him down. He has 196,000 damage. If I were to now do the Nuclear Giant, I do have visual effects on. I myself will transform into the Nuclear Giant. Boom. I'll also deal map-wide damage, which is pretty cool. And as you can see right now, when I am stepping, I am dealing damage. You can see the AoE of the damage range, which is pretty cool. I believe this lasts around like 20 to 30 seconds, so it does take quite a while. This is a very nice looking model. And since I have taken damage stat from my Gogeta will be debuff and status ailment immune for the duration, so pretty nice. Last thing to know with Armin, his active is a 10-minute cooldown. It is a local cooldown, so you can have multiple people on the same team to basically activate Nuclear Giant all at once, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, that is Armin. He is a pretty simple unit. Now the next unit that we'll be looking at is Zeke. Zeke is a 3 placement unit. He has 1.3k2 placed down. He has a pretty decent AoE on placement, and then his last AoE seems pretty good as well. So on placement, he transforms into the Beast Titan. Pretty nice model. He throws a rock down. It is a small AoE. He costs 25,000 to get to his second attack, 69,000 to get to his third attack, and then costs 139,000 to get to his final upgrade. I'm going to max him out first because his passive does unlock at upgrade 12, his second part of the passives, just to make it easier to go through. So let's go look at his attacks. So getting to his second attack, he has a rock toss. This is a cone AoE. It does basically what it says, tosses a bunch of rocks. Going to his second attack, it is rock spray. It is a larger cone and it is just larger rocks that he is throwing. And then finally going to his last upgrade, it is gigantification. This unlocks the active gigantification. Copies this unit stats onto all units in range and turns them into a giant for 20 seconds. Once 20 seconds elapse, they revert back to their regular form and regular stats. Now this is the reason why I have all of these rare units in my team, but before we go ahead and show off the active, let's go look at his ability. Any allies turned via active gigantification attacks in unison with the unit who attacks the active. So you definitely want to have your Zeke in range. You can't have him back here and then units like up the front and them attack. You definitely have to have the Zeke himself attacking because all the other units will attack alongside Zeke when he attacks. This unit gains 10% damage and range per ally converted. This is for the duration of the ability. This isn't a permanent effect. And then for the first 3 times this unit is placed, he buffs all giant category allies for 60% damage for 120 seconds. So this is where it would be beneficial to have multiple placements of him. But if I were to say out of all of the banner units that I've shown, this would be the one that you would want to get Monarch on, because with or without Monarch, he is very strong. His second part of the passive is Curse of the Shifter. 13 waves after he has used the active gigantification, this unit is sold. After using gigantification, he gains 50% damage and 20% range. This is a permanent effect until 13 waves have passed. So this is a very expensive unit to basically upkeep. All right, so now that I have placed down all of my rare units, I'm going to show off his gigantification. So like it said before, it copies the unit stats to put it onto all units in range and turns them into a giant. Pretty cool, and they all attack on Zeke's SPA, so you do want to have Zeke attacking because they will attack when Zeke attacks. So let's go ahead and pop gigantification. All units are attacking. Zeke himself has 133,000 damage. If I go over to any unit, they have 50,000 damage. As you can see, he has buffed himself quite a lot, and then after the gigantification ends, that temporary buff will go away, but he will keep that 50% damage and 20% range from his second part of the passive. Pretty strong unit. And now we'll quickly check out Zeke in his Monarch form, because I would say if you do want a Monarch on any of these units, it definitely would be Zeke. So if I were to place him down, he would get that 60% damage buff from his own passive. This only lasts for 2 minutes, so if you want to get the most amount of damage out of him, you do want to be able to place him down and upgrade him fairly fast. So he has 190,000 damage every 4 seconds, which is pretty strong. If I then go ahead and activate gigantification, he goes up to 530,000 damage every 4 seconds. He has 137 range. Pretty crazy unit. And then every single unit in range is doing 200,000 damage every 4 seconds as well. This Zeke is a crazy unit, honestly. He is very strong. It is like a temporary nuke. Pretty crazy, just like Yuhaba, but definitely has its limitations to it. All right, and now the last unit that we'll be looking at is, of course, Riner. So Riner costs 2,000 to place down. He has 4 placements. So if I go ahead and place him down, this is a shiny version of Riner as well. So he does have a different model for the giants. These rocks happened somehow when I was playing around with Zeke, so I'm sorry about that. But he has a small AoE and a thick line on placement. Pretty average so far. Looking at his stats, he is probably like more or less the weakest unit out of all these, but I will say he is not bad. He is not bad. He's just probably the least out of all of them. Going to his second attack, it is 15,000 to upgrade, and then to his final attack, it is 61,000 to upgrade. So he is somewhat fairly cheap. Looking at his passives, his first one is Armored Body. The first time you reach 1 life stock remaining, you gain 2 armored stocks. Armored stocks cannot be used by units or activate any stock effects. This is just essentially making it so, this makes it so you can basically attack 4 enemies instead of 2 enemies. Pretty decent. And then his second passive is Marching On. Anytime a giant category unit is sold or deleted, he gains 40% damage and 20% range for 30 seconds. This unit will automatically place itself every 3rd placement to occur until no placements are available. So one thing that you can do is, if I were to equip a John, very cheap units, placing 3 Johns down, or in this case it'll be 2 because I already have placed down the unit, placing down 500, okay, it didn't place down. If I place down a 3rd one for 750 yen, another Rhino will be placed down. Instead of needing to cost 2,000 to place him, it is costing 750, so it is pretty decent. The next part of his passive, as you can see, we got the buff from selling that Rhino. That is one part of his passive, which is pretty nice as well. So now let's go ahead and upgrade him. Going to his second attack, he goes to Armored Strike. He gets a medium to smallish AoE, and he just punches the air, does a big force of damage basically. Going to his second or final attack, he has Armored Barrage. This is a thick line, and he is just pummeling the air basically. His damage does not look the greatest, of course, but do keep in mind that with his passive, he is going to be getting 40% damage and 20% range whenever a giant unit gets sold or deleted. So with that alone, is going up to 35,000 damage every 5.3 seconds. But he is definitely a unit that you don't want to just use by himself on a team. You definitely want to play around with all of the Attack on Titan units. So as an example, I place down my Armin first. This gives the beam that we can place down a Riner in. He's getting the 20% damage from that, and he is also costing 10% less. If I go to upgrade Riner, he's at 30,000 damage alongside that damage. I place down a Riner and sell him just so I can get that extra damage buff. He goes up to 40,000. And then if I place down a Zeke, the 60% buff that he provides, he's up to 2.2 multiplier and is at 55,000 damage. Now this can get higher with Aurin and also Ymir, but I don't have them, so I can't showcase it. But I will say, like, Riner will be good. He will be a very good unit. It's just right now, standalone by himself, I don't think he's that great. You definitely want to use your other giant units to really benefit him pretty well. But yeah, that is pretty much the end of this video. I showcased all of the gem banner units that you are able to obtain in 7.0. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I appreciate it if you have watched this far through the video. See ya.